This didn't make any sense to her. How did a melody that she had locked down over the summer, last summer, suddenly appear on Jennifer Lopez's album? This was something that really bothered her.
What if we told you that Mariah Carey, the vocal powerhouse of the 90s, had her entire career stolen right before our eyes? It sounds like the plot of a dramatic music biopic, but for Mariah Carey, it might just be the truth. Behind the glitter, #1 hits, and whistle notes lies a darker story of betrayal, manipulation, and calculated moves that many believe derailed her career at its peak. Enter two major names, Beyoncé and Jennifer Lopez. Both are now icons in their own right. But according to some pop culture theorists, they were also part of a much larger industry machine that strategically replaced and silenced Mariah. How does someone go from being the best-selling female artist of the decade to tabloid fodder practically overnight? And why did J.Lo mysteriously gain access to a track Mariah had just recorded? Or how did Beyoncé suddenly rise during the very same period when Mariah's image and mental health were being publicly torn apart? This isn't just about musical rivalries. This is about career sabotage, backdoor deals, and the unspoken beef that the industry doesn't want you to notice, until now. We're peeling back the glittery curtain and diving deep into one of the most controversial, whispered about narratives in pop culture history. Buckle up, because once you see the receipts, you might never hear Loverboy the same way again. Before there was Beyoncé or J.Lo, there was Mariah. And she wasn't just on the charts, she was the charts. From the moment Mariah Carey hit the scene in 1990 with her self-titled debut album, it was clear she wasn't just another pop star. She was a phenomenon. With a 5-octave range, piercing whistle notes, and the ability to belt, whisper, and glide through melodies like silk, Mariah didn't just sing songs. She redefined what it meant to own a vocal performance. But it wasn't just her voice. Mariah was a songwriter and producer at a time when women, especially young Black women, weren't expected to control their sound. She co-wrote nearly every hit she ever had, crafting iconic ballads like Vision of Love and Hero, while also pioneering the now-standard pop, R&B, hip-hop fusion in tracks like Fantasy, featuring Old Dirty Bastard, and Honey. Long before rap verses became a staple of pop radio, Mariah made it mainstream. She broke records effortlessly. Her first 5 singles went straight to #1. By the end of the 90s, she was named the best-selling female artist of the decade. Her influence was everywhere, not just in record sales, but in the way the industry began to mold artists around her look, her sound, and her style. She was also a trailblazer in a deeply segregated industry. As a biracial woman navigating pop stardom in the 90s, Mariah faced unique challenges, often coded as difficult for asserting creative control or reduced to tabloid drama despite her overwhelming talent. Still, she pressed forward, balancing pop appeal with soul credibility and becoming a beacon for a generation of girls who looked like her, dreamed like her, and saw her as proof that success was possible. And yes, that includes Beyoncé. In interviews, Bey has cited Mariah as one of her earliest and greatest influences. Before Destiny's Child blew up, Beyoncé was covering Mariah Carey songs and talent shows. There's no doubt that Mariah's artistry, sound, and success helped pave the way for the next wave of female powerhouses. But for all her success, power, and talent, Mariah's story takes a sharp turn. Because just as she was poised to evolve into a new era, with more creative freedom and a bold reinvention, something or someone was waiting in the wings to take it all away. She was the blueprint. So the real question is, who copied it? And who tried to erase her name from it? So why did Beyoncé go from being Mariah's biggest fan to never mentioning her again? In the early days, Beyoncé didn't just admire Mariah Carey, she practically worshipped her. There are videos, interviews, and fan shot clips of a young Beyoncé gushing over Mariah's voice, her songwriting, and the influence she had on her own career. Beyoncé even once called Vision of Love the song that taught her how to sing. But somewhere between admiration and dissension, something shifted. As Beyoncé's solo career took off in the early 2000s, the once public praise for Mariah quietly faded. Mentions of her influence were replaced with broader, more generalized acknowledgments of powerful women or great singers. Mariah's name, once spoken with reverence, seemingly scrubbed from the narrative. At the same time, Beyoncé's image was being carefully sculpted into an unstoppable, untouchable brand, flawless, focused, and firmly forward-facing. So what happened? Some argue it was simple strategy. The music industry, much like Hollywood, can only spotlight so many women at once. especially Black women. As Beyoncé rose, industry forces may have quietly encouraged her team to distance her from older stars like Mariah, whose public image had become more complicated after a highly scrutinized breakdown in the early 2000s. In an industry obsessed with youth and reinvention, aligning with a fading icon wasn't exactly a PR win, but it goes deeper. As Beyoncé climbed, Mariah seemed to vanish from the spaces she once dominated: award shows, radio rotations, magazine covers. Despite continuing to release music, her visibility dwindled. It wasn't just aging out of relevance, it felt strategic. The woman who once broke records effortlessly was now rarely mentioned among contemporary legends. And that silence? It wasn't just from the media, it came from peers, too, many of whom had once cited her as a formative influence. Beyoncé's omission may not have been malicious, but it was noticeable, especially from someone whose own career was built on the very vocal innovation and genre-blending blueprint Mariah helped create. Whether it was label politics, competitive branding, or subtle industry sabotage, one thing was clear: the world and the industry that once couldn't get enough of Mariah Carey had suddenly decided she was too much. And in that silence, the seeds of betrayal were sown. Because while Mariah was fighting to reclaim her voice, others were rising using the very tools she pioneered without ever saying her name. Sometimes it's not who sings best, it's who plays the game best. The music industry isn't just a battlefield of talent and creativity. It's a complex web of power plays, alliances, and gatekeepers who decide who gets the spotlight and who gets pushed to the sidelines. It's not enough to have an incredible voice or write chart-topping hits. You have to navigate the unseen currents of influence that control everything from radio spins to marketing budgets. Mariah Carey's story is a textbook example of this ruthless game. In the 90s, Mariah was signed to Sony Music under Tommy Mottola, a titan of the industry who was as much a kingmaker as he was a kingpin. Mottola was known for wielding his power with an iron fist, crafting the careers of megastars while also controlling their personal and professional lives. For Mariah, the relationship was a double-edged sword. While Mottola helped launch her career to stratospheric heights, tensions grew over creative control and personal autonomy. Their reportedly toxic relationship culminated in a painful split, and what followed wasn't just professional fallout. It was a deliberate sidelining. Without Mottola's backing, Mariah's access to the industry's power corridors diminished. Radio stations, award shows, and media outlets slowly cooled off. The same executives who once championed her now favored fresh faces, voices that aligned better with shifting trends and lucrative partnerships. Meanwhile, Beyoncé's rise was marked by strategic alliances and an industry machine fine-tuned to propel her forward. From her days with Destiny's Child, Beyoncé's team built relationships with influential producers, marketing strategists, and corporate sponsors who protected her brand fiercely. The backing she received wasn't just about talent recognition, it was about business savvy, timing, and alliances that ensured her continued dominance. The contrast couldn't be starker. Mariah, the woman whose vocals redefined pop and R&B, was being sacrificed to the altar of power and profit. Beyoncé, who borrowed elements of Mariah's blueprint, was elevated by an industry ready to push a new queen without looking back. It's a brutal reminder. The music industry doesn't always reward the best voice or the most original artist. Sometimes it's about who understands the game, builds the right alliances, and convinces the gatekeepers that they're the future. And in that game, Mariah Carey, despite her undeniable talent and legacy, was forced to watch as her crown was quietly passed on. Mariah didn't just lose a song, she lost control of her entire album. Glitter wasn't just another album for Mariah Carey. It was her passion project, a bold reinvention, and a deeply personal statement. Set against the backdrop of a futuristic film where she played a rising pop star, Glitter was supposed to mark her triumphant return to the top of the charts after years of personal and professional upheaval. But what should have been a comeback turned into a catastrophic nightmare, and at the heart of it was a scandal that rocked the industry. The controversy centered around the sample for Loverboy, the lead single from Glitter. Mariah had secured rights to a sample from the legendary 1980s dance track Firecracker by Yellow Magic Orchestra, a critical piece she felt was essential to the song's sound and energy. She had the legal clearance, the green light, and the vision, but then something unbelievable happened. Just weeks before Mariah's single was set to drop, Jennifer Lopez unexpectedly released I'm Real, Murder Remix, which featured the exact same Firecracker sample. Not only did J.Lo beat Mariah to the punch, but the industry buzz immediately favored Lopez's version. overshadowing Mariah's release and confusing radio DJs, critics, and fans alike. This wasn't just a coincidence. Many insiders and fans believe it was a calculated move, allegedly orchestrated behind the scenes by Tommy Mottola, who reportedly had close ties with J.Lo's team and the power to influence release schedules. The result was devastating. Mariah's Loverboy single was forced to be reworked last minute, losing the sonic edge that made it special, and Glitter's overall momentum was crushed before it could even build. The fallout was more than professional. Mariah Carey, already battling intense media scrutiny and emotional strain, felt betrayed by an industry that seemed eager to replace her. The Glitter album, which she poured her heart into, suffered from poor promotion and mixed reviews, further fueling the narrative that her career was spiraling. Many consider the Glitter saga a turning point, the moment when it became clear that Mariah's control over her own artistry was slipping, and forces beyond her talent were dictating her fate. Losing that song wasn't just a financial or chart-related blow, it symbolized the broader erosion of her creative power. The story of Glitter is a cautionary tale about how the music business can be cruel, competitive, and cold, especially when power players decide someone's time is up. And for Mariah, that time seemed to have been hastened by a scandal that stole not just a song, but a chapter of her legacy. When Mariah said, "I don't know her," she was saying a lot without saying much. That phrase has become one of the most iconic and loaded comebacks in pop culture history. But beneath the seemingly simple words lies a world of subtle shade, coded conflict, and unspoken rivalry. The moment came during a 2003 Larry King Live interview when Mariah was asked about Jennifer Lopez, who was rapidly climbing the charts and dominating headlines. Instead of a direct response, Mariah coolly replied, "I don't know her." On the surface, it sounded like a polite brush-off, but fans and insiders immediately recognized it as a pointed diss. It was a masterclass in saying a lot without saying much, an elegant yet cutting way to sidestep the question while making her feelings unmistakably clear. This moment followed earlier signs of tension, including Mariah's candid interview with Talk magazine, where she contrasted real singers with performers. Though never naming names, the implication was obvious. Mariah saw herself as the authentic artist, the vocal powerhouse, while others relied on image, choreography, and celebrity. The media and public reaction was electric. Some applauded Mariah for her classy shade. After all, it was a subtle jab, not a public meltdown. Others read it as a desperate attempt to stay relevant amid growing competition. Meanwhile, Jennifer Lopez's camp mostly ignored the comments, keeping the feud simmering beneath the surface. What made this moment so memorable wasn't just the words themselves, but the way Mariah wielded them. Unlike many celebrity spats that explode into public fights, this was a quiet war, coded, poised, and brutal in its implication. It captured the essence of Mariah's struggle, maintaining dignity and control while being forced to navigate an industry that was increasingly sidelining her. The "I don't know her" line became shorthand for Mariah's complex position, both queen and underdog, in a changing pop landscape. More than just shade, it was a statement of power wrapped in silence, a refusal to give the drama away, and a reminder that sometimes the sharpest weapons are the ones left unspoken. You might think you were listening to J.Lo, but were you actually hearing Ashanti? Jennifer Lopez's rise to pop superstardom in the early 2000s was marked by catchy hooks, club bangers, and chart-topping hits, but beneath the glossy surface of her vocals lurks a little-known industry secret. Many of her biggest songs weren't entirely sung by her. Instead, they featured uncredited vocals from other artists, most notably Ashanti. Ashanti, an incredibly talented singer and songwriter, is confirmed to have written and sung on several of J.Lo's biggest tracks, including the iconic remixes of "I'm Real" and "Ain't It Funny." Her smooth, soulful voice often formed the backbone of the choruses and hooks, blurring the lines between where J.Lo's vocals ended and Ashanti's began. Even on "What's Love," a Fat Joe hit featuring J.Lo, Ashanti's contributions were significant behind the scenes. This pattern isn't just a coincidence, it reflects a broader industry strategy. J.Lo was packaged as a multi-talented performer, dancer, and actress, but when it came to singing, the producers often used her as a vessel, a marketable face fronting the music while other vocalists supplied the actual singing power. This practice is not uncommon in pop, but in J.Lo's case, it became a point of controversy because it further blurred the lines of authenticity, especially when compared to powerhouse vocalists like Mariah Carey. For Mariah, a singer known for her extraordinary voice and songwriting, this industry practice must have felt like a slap in the face. While she fought for creative control and recognition, others were being elevated on the backs of uncredited talent. It underscored a stark contrast between artists who built their careers on raw vocal ability and those whose success was largely shaped by image and strategic production choices. The J.Lo vocal controversy highlights a recurring theme. The music industry often prioritizes marketability over authenticity, and when real voices like Mariah's are overshadowed by polished, repackaged personas, it leaves fans questioning, whose talent are we truly celebrating? In this tangled web of credits and uncredited performances, the truth about vocal artistry gets lost. And for Mariah Carey, who defined an era with her unmistakable voice, it was another layer of a complex story about recognition, respect, and the politics of power in the pop world. As Mariah was fading from headlines, Beyoncé was rising, quietly but powerfully. The early 2000s marked a pivotal shift in pop culture. While Mariah Carey, the reigning queen of the 90s, grappled with public scrutiny and industry cold shoulders, a new star was meticulously crafting her empire. Beyoncé's ascent wasn't explosive or chaotic. It was calculated, controlled, and relentless. Where Mariah was often branded as the unpredictable diva, her emotional highs and lows plastered across tabloids, Beyoncé's image was crafted to perfection, poised, polished, and almost untouchable. She was marketed as the embodiment of strength and grace, an icon of empowerment whose every move was strategically aligned with a narrative of flawless success. This difference in branding wasn't accidental. The industry saw an opportunity to repackage female power for a new generation, moving away from the diva stereotype to a more palatable, marketable version of female stardom. Beyoncé's rise was, in many ways, the perfect storm of talent, timing, and industry rebranding. And as Mariah's presence in media and radio waned, Beyoncé's star shone brighter. She inherited more than just fans. She stepped into a space that had been carefully vacated, whether by choice or design. The vocal runs, the genre blending, the commanding stage presence, these were elements Mariah pioneered, yet Beyoncé became the face synonymous with that era's definition of pop royalty. It wasn't just about music, it was about control. Beyoncé's team knew how to build an untouchable brand, one insulated from scandal and criticism. Meanwhile, Mariah's struggles were amplified, painting a stark contrast between two very different narratives about female artists in the spotlight. In the Game of Crowns, Beyoncé didn't just win, she inherited a throne that had once been Mariah's. And while the world celebrated the new queen, the legacy of the original blueprint was quietly, and sometimes unfairly, overlooked. After 20 years of silence, Mariah might finally be ready to expose the truth. For decades, Mariah Carey has been tight-lipped about the behind-the-scenes battles that shaped her career, the betrayals, the industry politics, and the people who tried to steal her spotlight. But recently, the diva has dropped more than a few tantalizing hints that she's ready to break her silence. In recent interviews and in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, she's alluded to experiences that go far beyond the usual celebrity stories. Without naming names outright, Mariah has hinted at the painful betrayal she endured, the unfair treatment she faced, and the forces that tried to rewrite her story. The media is buzzing with speculation that she might be gearing up for a documentary or a follow-up memoir, one that could finally lift the veil on her tangled history with Beyoncé, Jennifer Lopez, and Tommy Mottola. Fans and insiders alike are on the edge of their seats. What exactly will she reveal? Will she confirm the whispers of sabotage during the glitter era? Will she address the sudden silence from artists who once celebrated her? And what does she really think of the industry titans who wielded the power to build her up and tear her down? Mariah's decision to speak out now feels like more than just sharing her story. It's a quest for closure and justice after years of being sidelined and misunderstood. It's the chance to reclaim her narrative, to set the record straight, and to remind the world that her legacy is far more than tabloid fodder. One thing is certain, when Mariah Carey finally opens up fully, the music world will listen. And the tea we've all been waiting for might just spill, revealing the truth behind one of pop culture's most guarded mysteries. They may have tried to erase her, but legends never stay silent forever. Despite the battles, the betrayals, and the years spent fighting to reclaim her place, Mariah Carey's voice remains undeniable, a defining force in pop and R&B that shaped an entire generation. From her groundbreaking vocal runs to her genre-blending songwriting, Mariah set a standard that countless artists still strive to reach today. Her journey hasn't been easy, Sabotage, media scrutiny, and the harsh politics of the music industry threatened to silence her. But Mariah's resilience has been as powerful as her voice. Time and again, she's proven that no amount of behind-the-scenes maneuvering can erase true talent and influence. Today, a new wave of fans is rediscovering Mariah's catalog, streaming her classics, praising her vocal prowess, and recognizing the artistry that once seemed overshadowed by gossip and industry games. In a world more aware of authenticity and creative control, Mariah's legacy shines brighter than ever. The long game, it seems, is on her side. Legends may be pushed aside, but they never truly disappear. They endure, inspire, and eventually receive the vindication they deserve. Mariah Carey's story is far from over, and the world is finally listening. If Mariah's finally ready to spill, the industry better get ready, because this time, she's in control. For years, Mariah Carey's career was marked by dazzling highs and painful lows. From industry betrayals and stolen opportunities to the silent distancing of former fans and competitors. Behind the glitz and glamour was a story of power struggles, carefully orchestrated moves, and voices that were muted or erased. But now, the tables are turning. Mariah is reclaiming her narrative and her voice, ready to expose what the industry long tried to keep hidden. Her story is not just about one superstar's fight for justice. It's a mirror reflecting a much larger problem in entertainment, where talent and creativity often come second to politics and power. Artists like Mariah have paved the way, yet too often their legacies are overshadowed or rewritten. What's happening now signals a shift, a growing demand for transparency, respect, and authenticity. The story isn't over yet. Mariah Carey's truth is coming to light, and when it does, it won't just change the way we see her. It could change the industry forever. Because this time, she's not just telling her story, she's taking control. Now it's your turn to speak. Do you believe Mariah was pushed out on purpose? Was her career sabotaged by industry power plays? Or did Beyoncé and J.Lo simply rise on their own merits? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you Team Mariah, Team Beyoncé, or Team J.Lo? We want to hear your side of the story. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. There's more tea brewing. From Ashanti's untold stories to industry secrets, and maybe even new revelations from Mariah herself. Stay tuned. The truth is just getting started.